everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful, if a little chilly for the season, Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about Mormons and their growth, right? But this back, what a lot of people, one of our listeners probably don't know is that back in the 80s and 90s, after a massive growth spurt, the Mormons were projected to be like basically taking over the world in just a few decades, right?
Well, so we have some predictions that were made by demographers, by social scientists
people
of the era.
And they knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, these are real scientists who are looking at the numbers, looking at the trend lines, looking at all of the different things.
But they came up with some hooey, Dan.
Oh, way to bury the lead. Wait, spoiler alert.
What?
Franklin?
We're not actually saying actual numbers. When people hear these numbers, it's pretty amazing.
They weren't quite right. Here's the thing. They were guessing in the mid-90s what it was going to look like by the year 2020. Well, we're in the year 2020, so we can actually look and see how close they came.
And how wrong were they? But
exactly.
We'll get that get to that in the second half of the show. In the meantime, Dan, I've got some news. Maybe potentially sad news for a lot of our listeners, I'm sure. For years we've followed the antics of the religious right, and we play a little clip in the middle of the show, and we've grown fond of certain people, and we've grown to loathe other people. One of the people who is mildly loathsome, but he's just kind of fun to play his clips. It's Jim Bakker, right?
Oh, I love Jim Bakker
because he's crazy. Like he's
the worst. He's a doddering old fool. He is not the brightest bulb on the tree. Let's just say that right now.
But he's always. You go ahead. Okay, but he's always been this like guy who knows where the money is.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
He knows how to he knows his audience, and he knows how to just drain the money out of them, right? Just squeeze it out of them.
To the point where at some points he took it a few steps too far and had to do a stint in county.
No kidding.
Did a dime up in county, and now he's back to fleece the masses.
Oh, absolutely. Well, recently, as we've talked about on the show, he was some of the stuff that he was selling on his show was this basically like a colloidal silver solution. They just call it silver solution, right?
Right.
And this stuff is like not to be messed around with. It's not really meant for human consumption at all.
It's literally just you're drinking a metal.
Yeah.
It's this, and it is the tiniest bit of silver.
If you go over the amount that a certain line, right? For you cross that line, you turn blue, and you never turn back to your normal color. You're permanently dyed and stained blue.
You're a Smurf.
You're a Smurf. Your face is blue. It's
right.
This is nothing to trifle with. Well, anyway, they sell it on the show, and he had a guest on who was making some claims about its ability to basically cure and treat COVID-19. Right.
Right.
And they were making health claims that certain parts of our government don't like hearing be made about things. And so they received some warnings by the New York Attorney General's office to stop making misleading claims. The Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Trade Commission ordered him to immediately cease making all such claims.
To be clear, the only misleading claims that they're mad about are the claims about the colloidal silver, not the ones about Jeebus, which those they should probably also warn him about. But no, they were only talking about
And then he was also sued by the Office of Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt for misrepresentations about the effectiveness of silver solution as a treatment for the 2019 coronavirus. Well, this got him a lot of attention that he didn't want. They pulled the product, and now it's gone in a direction that I didn't foresee coming. And I'd like to play a little clip from his show.
The warfare continues with our credit card company, the company that processes credit cards. We were notified that because of the negative news in the public, they have put a hold on all our funds, all our accounts, all our deposits, and within 2 weeks, we will be totally financially broke.
Oh, my goodness.
He's in trouble. In the longer clip, Lori, his wife, can be heard with all of her, that's right. So basically what they start doing is they're asking people to send in checks, right? Like, they're going old school. Send us checks.
Yeah. Hey, he may save the Postal Service. You never know.
And at one point, a graphic comes up on the screen, and it has a $sign and then the word any after it. Just any amount, people. Whatever. Just doesn't matter. Any dollar amount. Make out your checks. And in Lori's words, make the checks out to Jim Bakker. Not Jim Bakker Ministries, not Jim Bakker anything else. Just a check written personally to Jim Bakker.
Oh,
I mean, these people
God.
are just absolute charlatans.
That's amazing.
He is, oh God, he's in it for the money. He always has been. It's always been clear that he's only in it for the money.
Obviously. But you want to know what I'll bet happens here? Here's what I'll bet. Because I'm guessing that most of the credit card, most of the funds that they get are not one-time donations, but like recurring credit card payments or whatever.
Yeah.
And so all of that's been put on hold while his merchant account person, people. But I'm guessing it'll all just fire right back up again, and it'll be retroactive. So I'm guessing all these people are making out checks, and they're going to be paying them through the credit card. I'm guessing he's double dipping here.
It's possible. Like when you watch the clip, though, he looks mad and angry and a little confused, right? But whatever sort of, like, he's still sort of in control of the situation, more or less, right?
Right.
Lori has a look of panic. Lori, you can tell things are bad because Lori is she doesn't have the best poker face, maybe. He says, this is what he says later on in the clip. He says, we have not received money, talking about like from the merchant account, the credit card processors. He says they think because somebody told a lie about us, so now they're saying, well, the people might want their money back, so we've got to keep all your money. Please stand with us. If the people come against us, then it's going to be impossible for us to stay on the air. And I mean, it just keeps going. This clip, the original clip, it's so delicious. It's so good. I've just been reveling in the little bits that have been sort of getting posted here and there on like the Twitter accounts that I follow.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Well, there you go. We can only hope that their claims about a stupid silver solution actually sink them.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
It's not going to happen.
No,
but it might say
he is a survivor, if anything.
Yeah. That guy can. He has been resurrected a few times.
He'll just find a new source of bucket food.
Well, he's still got the buckets. The buckets might. I mean, in this time of coronavirus, the buckets might be their bread and butter at this moment.
And he was seeing like all the gold coming in, and it got shut down, and he can't make money off this crisis. Like he knows this is his moment to make a lot of money, and it's not coming in, Dan.
Oh my goodness, poor guy. I feel for him. Let's you and I not sell that. We were going to sell our own silver solution. Let's not do it just because I don't want to suffer the same fate. just too scary.
Yeah.
All right, well, I am going to tell us a story about in South Carolina, there was a school district that was trying that they had a good tradition, a really lovely tradition of including Christian prayer at all their graduation ceremonies.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
Oh.
You want to make sure that Jeebus is there to watch all the kids, except, to be bored along with the rest of all of the parents, because it's the most painful thing in the world. Well, this may not apply to this year, because who knows if anybody's going to be walking at a graduation this year. But in the future, they will finally not be allowed, for sure, to have these prayers, because there was a lawsuit, and the school district lost, which means that now, because they were fighting so hard to get these prayers in, they now owe $450,000 in damages, or probably just in legal fees to the other side, because they fucking wanted prayer in schools, because obviously Jesus doesn't protect you if you don't pray at every possible opportunity.
Constant prayer. That's what he demands.
Yeah, the U.S. district judge who delivered the order, one Bruce Hendricks, was not having any workarounds. He issued guidelines that are to be followed to ensure that they don't that this doesn't happen, including you're not allowed to list prayers in the official graduation programs. And no euphemisms either. So, like, nothing about, like, an inspirational reading or, moment of spiritual enlightenment or whatever.
Right. Okay.
School officials are not allowed to encourage kids to pray. It was always the students praying, and that was how they were trying to get around it.
Yeah.
It wasn't us.
Right.
If students speak at the graduation, they must be chosen under religiously neutral criteria that's listed in writing. So
what?
Because he rightfully does not trust these people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he shouldn't, because they would come up with wink wink nod nod ways of like
being clever.
This year's valedictorian, we're taking applications, and everyone should have a side degree in theology or something.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. School officials can't give the kids, because here's the thing: if a kid decides to pray, apparently of their own volition, without having been encouraged by any faculty or anything, then they can do it.
That's free speech, right?
I guess so. It's annoying free speech, but yeah. So this judge was just like trying to find every possible loophole that these fuckers could find and eliminating them. So there you go.
There could be no fortune cookies.
Yep. Yeah. If administrators if they see the students' speeches in advance for any reason, and there are prayers in them, they have to take those prayers out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. The students who, if a student does wish to pray, they can't ask the audience to participate with them by asking them to stand or bow their heads or fold their arms or, whatever you do.
Can they say things like, this is the point when I'm not allowed to ask you?
Oh, of course they're going to say shit like that. They are going to feel so goddamn clever. They're going to do all and be so proud of themselves and burst their buttons, and everybody's going to go, woo! And shout and scream, and nobody will care about the grumpy faces on the one kid who's a Hindu and the one kid who's an atheist, and they'll be so fucking happy and excited and proud.
Yeah.
But so yes, they haven't stopped prayer at these things.
Yeah.
But boy, they've made sure that they've done everything they can to make it so that the administration is not involved.
Oh, that's lovely. And as somebody from a small town, in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I know that like this all rings so true because I remember like people like from different faculty or whatever coming around and wink, wink, nod, nod. And, well, we can't ask you, but this is when you could,
Right.
And yeah, totally. That's...
So anyway, the American Humanist Association, they fought the fight, they won it, and now they are owed a significant amount of money.
Well,
like $500,000
hopefully
almost.
That makes this school district take it seriously.
Hopefully it makes other school districts take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Dan. So I've got a very interesting some interesting results from a survey that is put together by the Public Religion Research Institute. Apparently, it's a nonpartisan group that they let's see. They're comparing numbers in this little report between sort of how support for the LGBTQ community has shifted between the years 2015 and 2019.
Right.
Just a 4-year period.
Okay. That's not a huge period.
Not a huge period. But it's very interesting. They surveyed more than 40,000 Americans.
Whoa.
And
that's not small.
It's not small. And they found that 72% of this group said that they favored non-discrimination protections for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And that was in the 2019 study, right? 72%. Right?
That's great.
So you can that. Wow. Like amazing levels of support when you think about how far we've come since just the early 2000s. So that's really remarkable and something to be really, really happy about. But there's something in these numbers.
I knew there was a but. I knew that there would be a but.
Is shocking and mildly hard to wrap your head around.
Okay.
During the same period, the number of people who said that they oppose allowing small businesses to refuse products and services to gays if doing so would violate their religious beliefs. In 2016, which was the highest point, right? At 61% of Americans, right, said that this they were in opposition to this. Makes sense. It's not fair. It's not right. This number has dropped from 2016, right, to 56%.
What?
In 2019.
Ew.
Yeah, and this is surprising. People are. I'm a little taken aback by this that the numbers could shift like that. I mean, it's just 5 percentage points, but like, still, right? Like, that's
you know what though? Here's the problem: the messaging on the wrong side of this issue, is so good. Their messaging is easy. It's just religious freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a country that has religious freedom.
Yeah,
and the messaging on the other side isn't getting through, which is just if you practice it, if you're open for business in the United States, you're open for everybody.
Right.
And that's the end.
I know. It's a really funny thing. And what they're looking at in this article is they're talking about specifically the cases that were sort of out there in the news had to do with like cakes for weddings. And so the issue was linked to gay marriage, and so the support of gay marriage, and so people they were seeing it and they were like, no, that's not fair, that's not right, and blah, 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 blah. But you're right. They, as soon as the religious right lost on the gay marriage issue and saw the numbers, like the support out there in the public is so high, right. That they know that they're not going to win that, and they're just going to look like dicks, right? And they're not going to get the thing that their plan B, which is they want to be able to discriminate against gay people, right? In some fashion, right? And if they held on hard to keep fighting gay marriage, they'd look like dicks. Right. And they would lose favor on these other issues, and the public's opinion would be solidified. They were actually they deftly shifted their focus to this issue. And it looks like we've got some work to do, because this is so fucking wrong, right? And I don't get how people how they don't see this, right? Like, if you support gay marriage, right, at a rate of 72% of this country, right, supporting gay people in equality, in equal rights.
Just in rights. You don't have to go to their wedding.
Yeah.
You just have to you just have to be okay with people having equality.
How can there be this disparity, right, in other sort of other rights? The rights, like, to go about your life and to go and get goods and services at any business that's opened generally to the public.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is that they couch it as a right. I have the right not to serve people that I don't want to.
I have a right to discriminate.
Right.
And we've established that you don't really.
Well, but we've established that you have the right to hate them, and you have the right to be a dick about it. But the problem is that people don't understand what hanging out a shingle means.
Right.
What it means to say, I've opened a business to the public.
Right. We gotta get on this, Dan.
Well, it's our fault for we really haven't done a good job.
Specifically, you and me.
It's we should have done better. We'll figure it out. We'll do better. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, baby steps, I guess. We're getting there.
Oh, there is some good news though. In this whole thing. Last page, I marked something that I wanted to make sure I didn't skip by. Just kind of on this little side note, there is some very interesting numbers as far as like the support of marriage equality. It is the first time that they have found majority support in all age groups, even seniors in this country, for marriage equality. So that's, I mean, we've done good work, right?
Yes.
The gay rights movement has done some good work. Everybody loves that Modern Family, you know, and and so there's a lot of support for the gay community. It's just this
true.
issue has to get framed correctly, right?
Yeah.
And probably smarter people than us. We'll figure it out, hopefully.
Here's the thing.
It just has to be framed right.
What needs to happen is somebody just needs to stop serving Christians and watch what happens. Just light that fuse a little bit and see what happens.
Your store would be burned down so fast.
Right.
Like it would.
Yeah.
Especially depending on where you did it, right?
Then again, and you'd go viral instantly.
Right.
Your store would instantly, like everyone in the universe would hear this story, because there's nothing Christians like more than a persecution story. Anyway, yeah, if you want your business to be the lightning rod, if you want to just collect insurance money on your burnt down store instead of continuing your business, go ahead and try it out and just see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to take us to Ukraine, where we have reported in the past about the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, because going back to like 2014, when Moscow, when Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula and pissed off all of the Ukrainians, and then and yet here's the thing: you get a lot of Orthodox Christians in Ukraine, but for the longest time they were under the Moscow. They were affiliated with the Russian Orthodox Church.
Oh, okay.
And then they hated the Russians, and considering the fact that the Russian Orthodox Church is just a wholly owned subsidiary of Putin Incorporated,
right?
they wanted out. They didn't want to be a part of that, so they went to the sort of the grand poobah of the Orthodox Church. One Bartholomew. What's his?
He's a patriarch.
Patriarch Bartholomew. Yeah. That's right. Considered first among equals, which I think is a hilarious concept. He's not the boss. We're all equal, but he has the final say. And he granted Ukraine their own group, their own patriarchate. So so coronavirus has done an interesting thing, which is you still have Russian Orthodox churches in Ukraine, and you have Ukraine Orthodox churches in Ukraine. And apparently they were battling it out over what was going to happen on Easter. Because nobody was supposed to have a anything on Easter, any kind of like in-person services, because nobody's supposed to be meeting because of this stupid outbreak we got going on.
Right.
But one of the churches was like, everybody stay home. The Moscow affiliated church was just urging everybody to stay home and watch a televised service. But the other church, the Ukraine church, was like, hey, by the way, if you guys want to just go out and meet in some groups, you could do that. You go together outside places of worship. Go meet outside the church and hang out. So they weren't doing great.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a whole to do about that, and the rivals, I think they took differing positions just to have differing positions. Kind of sucks for those who were supposed to meet with each other, because that's a bad idea. And they've had plenty of coronavirus cases, and obviously that's still going up. So anyway, when two churches are rivals and people die because of it, that's always fun.
Yeah, like why not? You got to prove your point, Dan. You got to take a stand.
Exactly. You got to thumb your nose at the other guy.
Every once in a while, you have to stand for something, right?
Damn straight.
So Anyway, well, Dan.
Stupid. Yeah.
Coronavirus. It's
on everybody's lips.
It's everywhere.
So
Dan,
wash your face.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wash your hands a lot. If you're like me, you really don't have hands left.
Yeah.
Just stubs that you moisturize a lot. So there was this pastor of the New Deliverance Evangelistic Church, one Mr. Bishop Gerald Glenn, who, I guess we just might as well start with the fact that he passed away over the weekend.
Oh, no.
And he passed away due to coronavirus.
Oh, God.
And, that I suppose is sad. Definitely sad for the people who know him. And however, you might hear a little snickering about this one, which is maybe sad. I don't know. But he was one who sort of was like, he refused to stop doing his shtick because of the coronavirus.
He made change services and everything.
Yeah, he said that he rejected the official guidelines to avoid large religious gatherings during the pandemic, and he promised to keep preaching unless, quote, I'm in jail or the hospital. He told his congregation, I firmly believe that God is larger than this dreaded virus. And so they kept meeting. And he was caught on video saying that on March, 22nd, right? And then they just announced that he has passed away. And the news was announced by church elder Brian Nevers. He announced the death during an Easter sermon, and which was posted on Facebook. And he said, and one of the things he said is, the first thing I asked God is, why? Because the bishop has touched our lives in so many ways. And I get it. Like, they're sad, but why may not be the right question to be asking. Unless it's like, why did he ignore the advice of experts and scientists?
That's why. Well, listen, anyone who listens to our show has the right answer to that why. So feel free to address that question to any of us, because
we'll let you know.
Jesus will not answer you.
Why, God? Why?
Oh my God!
Because he didn't take care of himself. I mean, come on.
Who could have seen it coming? That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God!
You just can't predict these things. You can't.
Those words pretty much came out of my mother's mouth to me.
What?
Who could have seen this coming?
Well,
and I mean, it was not a good moment in our relationship.
Oh my God!
Because I told her.
Right.
Which everyone out there, don't do that. Just keep it to yourself sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta sacrifice
learn
the
from
rightness
my mistakes.
of you. Yeah. All right. Well, listen. It was Easter Sunday, last Sunday, which means it was Good Friday last Friday, which means that there are various traditions associated with that, including Catholics who normally fast on Good Friday, the last Friday before Easter. Yeah, they have a fast.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you do.
Oh, that's cool.
However, that was news to the Mormon church. The Mormons thought they were inventing something amazing when they called for a worldwide fast on the Friday before Easter to prevent the coronavirus.
Oh, no.
And then, when it actually happened and other people joined in, including Catholics, boy, did they feel great.
No. Because I honestly didn't know that, right? And that makes sense because I grew up Mormon, right?
Right.
But nobody in the church had that figured out. They legit were just
like, oh no, I'm sure that the leaders knew.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they called for a fast as though they had invented the concept, as though nobody had ever thought of this. And yeah, a few people who wouldn't have normally done it also joined in. Some Presbyterians, even some Jews may have joined in. So yeah, plenty of people were fasting. And when the LDS Church says they're going to do it, you know that a significant number. They're an efficient church. They get the word out. A significant number of their people definitely did that fast. I was invited on Facebook to join a group that was like the fast for coronavirus group.
Did you fast?
No.
Come on.
No.
What harm could it do, Dan?
It could make me hungry.
A fast is good for you, Dan.
Listen, I'm giving up enough during this time. I do not need to give up my num-nums. Anyway, here's the thing. You know, it's been almost a week now for us. By the time listeners hear this, it'll have been over a week since that fast happened. And I'm pleased to report coronavirus is completely eliminated. God heard the prayers of his people, of his faithful, and there is no more corona. Oh, shit, it didn't work.
Oh, no. Oh. I was about to give a good hooray. Also something I hadn't heard. But apparently, you just let me down, Dan.
Well,
I thought it was true.
God let us all down.
Oh, what a jerk.
So next time you see a Catholic or a Mormon or somebody who was fasting for the quick elimination of that virus, ask them what the fuck happened.
When have these when have these fasts ever worked for them? Because they've done this. Right? They do this all the time. Mormons love a good fast, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do they see results? Right? Like how do you just keep doing this thing that's never gotten you anywhere with God? Right?
Yeah.
Like, he's never bent to your will because you were like, I'm going to show you, right, how committed I am to this. I'm going to go without food. Right? And he's like, oh my God, they're actually not eating.
Holy shit, they're on a hunger strike. I better do something.
But you know what? The problem is, it's not actually a hunger strike. Like, he might be on the verge of helping them out if they just went longer.
Yeah.
They need to go longer, Dan.
Right.
They need to actually show how committed they are to this whole thing.
Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, you punks.
They're skipping 2 meals and calling it 24 hours.
So anyway, they did another thing that had no effect. Thanks, religion. Appreciate you. Listen, if you're going to do something that has no effect and you'd like to tell us about it, we'd sure love to hear it. You can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in.
Yeah, and there's Twitter, too.
And Twitter, too. Dan.
Hey!
So earlier in the show, we had one of our more favorite voices joining us to listen in on what they have to say about some stuff.
Yeah, Mr. Bakker, sure.
This is one that this guy, more and more, we should probably be offering a trigger warning when we play him.
He's not a good person.
He's really, really wretched. His name's Rick Wiles. We've played him a bunch. And back in the day, I always just found him to be a little annoying and self-righteous. And he was just your
enough. Standard run-of-the-mill smarmy pastor.
Yeah, and that was reason enough to bring to play a clip of his on the show.
Yeah.
But recently, all the clips that I'm seeing of him, he's just laying out some of the most rabid, anti-Jewish, rhetoric.
He has stopped pretending to not be a Nazi, and he has just gone full anti-Semite. Right out in the open, loves it.
Yeah, revels.
Now this one is so delightful because he is the myopia with which he attacks this thing. Because, you and I have reported, Frank, on how churches have been epicenters all over this country. Like, Christian churches all over the world have been the epicenters of outbreaks of coronavirus. Like, because it is how it is spreading
because
the
when
most.
People congregate, this is what happens.
Right.
Period. You get together.
And in this country, of course, because it's predominantly Christian, it's predominantly Christian churches that are spreading this virus all over this country.
But he's going to look to another country and draw some conclusions. So let's just listen in.
Yes, please.
Well, let's look at what the coronavirus is doing. Benjamin Netanyahu said today that if things don't change in the next several days, he's going to lock down all of Israel. It's going to be, there it is. If coronavirus trend continues, total lockdown within days. This next one, Times of Israel. Synagogues are top coronavirus hotspot list. Now, this is a report from Israel that the synagogues are the top spreaders of the coronavirus in Israel. That's not an anti-Israel report. That's in the Times of Israel.
It's a fact.
They are admitting that the virus clusters are in the synagogues. If you go, in fact, I'll show you the next one from UPI. Chief rabbis urge Israelis to stay away from synagogues. Well, I would too. Stay out of those things. There's a plague in them. God's dealing with false religions. God's dealing with people who oppose his son, Jesus Christ. He's dealing with the forces of Antichrist. And there's a plague moving upon the earth right now. And the people that are going into the synagogues are coming out of the synagogues with the virus. And it's so bad that the chief rabbis of Israel are pleading with the people to not enter the synagogues. Well, what is, Doc, if you heard about, if this happened in the Old Testament times, if the Jews went into the synagogue healthy and came out diseased, what would that say to you?
That would be an earmark of judgment to me. I mean, that would be something I'd be asking the question, God, how have we offended thee? God, what has separated us? God, where are these plagues coming from? Because they recognized that plagues and pestilence and famines and locust swarms, they were from God.
You go into a synagogue and you come out diseased. Damn.
Yeah. Listen, it's a simple if-then proposition. Mm-hmm. If the diseases are happening in the synagogues, then God is meting out his punishment to the wrong religions, the bad religions. Mm-hmm. Therefore, if the fucking Christian religions, no, wait, that can't be right. Hang on, let me do some math here. Yeah,
I know, it's crazy. I mean, like, if I suppose, right, like, if the reality was you just sort of innocently were going about your life. You walked into a synagogue and you walked out diseased. And this was like sick and like you caught it and it was undeniable and it happened to everybody and it was exclusively synagogues. Yeah. Then maybe he would be onto something.
Yeah. If you walk into a synagogue and then you turn into like Raiders of the Lost Ark, your face melts off and your heart comes out of your body, then I would definitely say something's going on.
Yeah, and
with
it
these
can't
synagogues.
just happen once. It has to literally happen repeatedly
right.
to at least a large portion of the people, right? And it's not happening elsewhere, right?
Right.
Then okay, right? But yeah, like you're right. Like, look at your Christian churches, dude.
Yeah.
Guess what's happening there too, and guess what's happening
you might have missed
in synagogues and in churches, and it's happening anywhere people get to fucking gather.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, very, very smart people are in charge of things in this world. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, restaurants are of the devil, Dan.
Well, obviously. Yeah. Obviously, that's the case.
Schools, the devil.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, we had some folks write into us, so let's hear what they have to say. Dear Frank and Dan, this is from Wendy. You may have discussed this subject before, so if there's a previous podcast, you can direct me to that. Nah, we'll just talk about it right now. How about? Here we go. My question is, how you feel about polygamy? I'm aware of the history of underage girls being forced into marriage. I've also heard that sometimes families defraud the welfare system. But I'm also of a mind that consenting adults should be able to make choices. I see polygamy from the outside, and I think as long as everyone is a legal consenting adult, what's the problem with it? I'm not personally interested in it at all. Well, okay, Wendy. I'm also aware that there's a lot I don't know about it. I would be interested in your thoughts and opinions. Well, it's a good question.
You called the right
show. Well, considering we are of Mormon descent, I think that is we're definitely we've faced the question a few times before. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Polygamy is specifically one man, a lot of wives. It's a system that's set up specifically for oppression, and especially if it's a religious in nature, it is there to make sure that one gender is subjugated while the other gender is placed into a position of power. I don't like that. By the same token, as you say, consenting adults is a great thing. I think, I am not at all about telling anybody who they're allowed to love and how many people they're allowed to love and what that's supposed to look like. So, if we want to talk about, ethical non-monogamy in any form that it takes, I'm kind of on board. So it's hard for me. I don't know. Polygamy itself, if it ends up happening and everybody's happy with it.
Right. If I hear what you're saying, it's when it's sort of institutionalized and part of a system, and that's when it's going to start to have problems, especially if it's attached to a highly patriarchal organization, which it seems to often find itself attached to.
Right. I do think that it probably should be legal. I think that Utah just tried to pass a bill. I never got the end result of it, but they were trying to decriminalize it here in Utah. And do you remember? Did you catch what happened? Did that go through?
Don't ask me. I totally. Okay. I spaced out on the legislative session because it's always just so awful.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I think it should be legalized. The point of decriminalizing is the same point that I like to make about legalizing, which is you make sure that only adults can participate in it, and then you make sure that people are actually looking, that that the authorities are actually paying attention, because right now nobody is. The problem is that this happens for the most part in tiny communities that are insular, that don't let that sort of would hole up and become another Waco, Texas situation. A big it'd be a debacle if people tried to look in on it. But if you legalize it, you make everybody fill out legal forms, and then you can keep track of who's doing what, and maybe shine a little bit more light into the situation. Make sure that it's not people being forced. It's not 14-year-old girls being forced to marry some guy that they don't even like, who's 52 or whatever.
Right.
So there you go. I it's tricky. It's not as simple as just legalize it, but I do think that consenting adults should be able to marry whoever the fuck they want to. So who knows? Who even knows? What is marriage? What even is it? I don't even know what it is anymore. I've had two and I don't know what they are.
Well, look at you, Dan.
Right? There you go.
I haven't even had one.
You haven't even had one.
And there you are, just not even caring.
I don't know what it is. Hi, this is from Daniel. Hi, Frank and Dan. Following on your recent discussion about Pell, this is Cardinal Pell, who was recently released from his incarceration by the Australian High Court. Regarding your recent discussion about Pell's successful appeal, I just wanted to clarify a point you made about Pell's lawyer saying it was a, quote, plain vanilla sexual penetration case, and that he was admitting Pell's guilt. And I will admit I was wrong about the situation in which he said that. So Thank you, Daniel, for this correction. It needs to be pointed out, Daniel says, that these comments were made in the context of a plea in mitigation. That is, after Pell had been found guilty by the court and his lawyer was seeking to reduce his sentence. At that point, his submissions really had to acknowledge that he had been found guilty, notwithstanding he maintained innocence and appealed. Don't get me wrong, I think Pell is guilty as hell and has gotten away with it. That's just the nature of our system, however, and Blackstone's ratio holds true. It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer. Unfortunately, that is little comfort to the victims. So there you go. I can see that the lawyer saying that in that situation to try and get a reduced sentence is not an admission of his guilt, so much as it is making light of a rape so that it sounds less horrific, which fuck you for doing that. But there you go.
Also disgusting. So
not great. Not a cute look. And we have one more. This is from Tasha. Hello, Frank and Dan. I figured I would share some new information that I learned today, care of the This Podcast Will Kill You podcast, which is apparently a medical podcast about diseases and stuff.
Okay.
They interviewed Dr. Jonah Mazet, an epidemiology and disease expert at UC Davis. In some ways, the way we treat the environment does have an impact on how many novel viruses we are exposed to. This is in reference, by the way, to your story that you did last week about the Pope saying that the environment was involved in the coronavirus thing.
Sure, right.
It also happens more often than most people probably realize, but it doesn't always go beyond one individual or a very small group of people. As humans tear down forests, jungles, etc., and expose themselves to more new ecology, we are exposed to more novel viruses. It is predicted that we will see more of these sorts of exposures in the future, not fewer. Of course, the hope is that this particular virus exposure will help us build a better response for the next one. Enjoy the show as always. Much fan love, but from more than 6 feet away. Tasha. So thank you, Tasha, for that. Yeah. That's a good point. We are exposing ourselves to more environment, and with global warming, we're exposing more environment, which like we're melting ice, and who knows what fun stuff's going to come out of the permafrost. You never know.
It's going to be great.
It's great. We're learning so much about our universe, about our world. It'll kill us, but we're learning about it. So that's fun.
So good.
So that's that. Do you have any folks to thank?
We do, Dan. We have actually quite a number of new patrons over there on Patreon.
Hooray!
We have, and I also need to say, we've kind of started changing up our reward structure.
Yes,
and
indeed.
We're in progress. We're in the middle of it.
We're revamping.
Yeah, and so those of you who maybe showed up and it's a little thin on promises, when we come up with new promises, we'll loop you in. But anyway, so we have one new deacon.
Yeah, we've switched it up. We should let you know. The saints, the faithful, we've gone away from that's Catholic nonsense. Yeah. We don't know anything about that shit.
Right.
We've Mormonized it. Y'all are going to be Mormons. We are going to give you the priesthood.
Yeah.
The Mormon priesthood. So congratulations on that. So we have a
new deacon.
A new deacon, great.
Ben, thank you very much. We have a new teacher,
okay.
Wendy.
Wendy.
Thank you very much. We have a new elder.
Oh,
Jennifer. Thank you very much.
She can go out and go on a mission.
Yeah, and we have 3 new patriarchs.
Holy cow!
I don't know if that's ever happened.
You guys, that's amazing.
We have Anthony, Lori, and Tobias. So thank you guys so much. What all these fine folk did is they went to thankgodimatheist.com and they clicked on the support tab, and then there's a couple options there. You can go over to PayPal if that's your what you want, or like what they did, they went over to Patreon and became part of our campaign, and there's membership benefits over there just waiting for you.
Mostly we just confer upon you the holy priesthood, so that's
that's pretty good.
It's pretty awesome.
Pretty good, because to get this in Mormonism, you got to sit through some awful shit.
Ugh,
it's just boring. It's not really that awful. It's just boring.
Yeah.
We're
bumping you up in the line. We're letting the girls have the priesthood. We're killing it.
And then, as always, we have our top donor to thank, Dan, our Lord and Savior, Davis,
long may he reign. We're assuming he. Anyway, thank you guys so much, all of you, for your kind donations, and we love you.
Thanks, guys. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
So back in the 90s,
I remember those,
and I remember this coming out. I remember the church making a big deal about it, because if there's anything that the LDS Mormon Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints loves, it's that it's their numbers. They're just so proud. They make such hay about how many members they have. They go, oh God. And they were growing by leaps and bounds back in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
And not like, we can get into like how they were growing, but that's a whole nother story. But they were growing, and they were like projected to like just keep growing at these like astronomical rates. And some sort of sociologist types, right? Like demographers started looking at this, and it really caught their attention, and they're like, wow, this is a movement. This is something that, like, if this continues, this is going, this little weird denomination over here is going to like emerge as essentially as like a world religion, right?
Yeah.
Like a legit like fully established and like a force, like tons and tons and tons of Mormons. You have the numbers pulled up and whatnot, right?
I've got
like
a few
what
of the numbers
talking about
pulled up. The thing is that like back in the 70s, you know, when the church had they weren't doing the way that and the number I should have written the numbers down in their own little thing, so I'm not like combing through a scholarly paper trying to find the numbers that I was looking for.
Right.
But in the 80s, the church's growth was something like 67.3%. Like they had an almost 70% increase.
Wow.
from the 70s.
Wow.
Which is enormous.
Yeah.
And growth rates, and even before that, growth rates exceeding 50% each decade since 1950.
Wow.
So big growth. And, you know, it makes sense. They have this machine for proselytization. They've got a marketing wing, which is their missionaries that they send out. And, you know, all young men and many young women are supposed to have gone and to go and do this. You know, both of my parents ended up doing it when they were young back in the 50s or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So, this is a church that is built to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So like you say, sociologists, including Lowell Benyon, who was he himself was a Mormon and very much a humanitarian. He was a huge humanitarian, a really cool guy actually, but also a sociologist. Put in some time and did some analysis and tried to come up with projections in the mid-90s for what the church might look like 25 years from then, 50 years from then, etc. Well, we've hit that 25-year mark. Now, other demographers had looked at it and decided that their estimate, by the time we reached about now, there were estimates as high as 265 million members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints by the time we reached now.
How many?
265 million.
That is an absurd number.
Right? Yeah, that's high.
That's like insanity. Like I have some numbers of like other Christian denominations, like what their numbers are. All of Protestantism is about 900 million people, right? The Baptist churches, they estimate between 75 and 105 million.
Right.
Lutherans, 90 million tops, right?
Sure.
Methodists, 80 million tops. When you look at like, let's see, what would be something comparable to that number? There's nothing quite right in that neighborhood, but it's
you've got Catholics at 1 billion people or something crazy like that.
Over 1 billion people. But like Sikhs, 23 million in the world.
Right.
Which you don't expect that to be the largest group in the world, but like African traditional religions, everything that is within that 100 million.
Okay.
Right? Like Chinese traditional religion would be 394 million. Right? Buddhism, 500 million.
Yeah.
Right? So just Buddhism, all of Buddhism would be just barely double, like what they're talking about,
right?
With what they thought the Mormons were going to be.
Now there were that was a very optimistic estimate. There were other estimates.
Mormons loved that.
Oh yeah. There was also a guy named Stark who did an estimate that he considered conservative at 63 million.
Still crazy.
Still pretty high.
Still fucking
Benyon
crazy.
himself, his figure was closer to 30 million. Basically said, well, we're looking at about 30 million, looking at all the trends and all of the different reasons why they're growing and stuff, we're going to be 30 million. Okay. Well, I'm so sorry, LDS Church. Currently, you're only claiming 16.5 million members.
Yeah.
So that's actually, wow, that's still shockingly high considering
how weird they are.
Considering who they are and how weird their thing. But, you market anything strongly. And boy,
right.
You and I were talking about this. They have the hard sell tactics down.
Oh, my God. The stuff
you were one.
Yeah, the stuff that we learned something called the commitment pattern, right?
Ooh.
This was basically always be closing, right?
Right. It's like Glengarry Glen Mormon.
Yeah, we had the commitment pattern, and we had we learned how to build relationships of trust, or BRT. Right. So we talked about BRT all the time. Yeah.
And the training is so effective. BRT. The training is good. It's so effective that some of the biggest door-to-door sales companies in the world are based in Provo, Utah.
Yeah.
Because they've got this sales force that's just coming back from their missions, and they're like, "Hey, I know you want to go to BYU in the fall and winter, but how about in the summertime we send you to Florida to sell pest control?"
Yeah.
And they kill it. They make a fortune.
And you also learn this, if nothing else, and this is kind of beside the point, but the reason that missionaries do turn into good door-to-door salesmen is that you can take so much rejection by the end of the whole thing. Yeah. But
and if you can do it for Jesus, you can do it for a home alarm system company. Anywho, so it's interesting that they missed their 35 million member mark. And there's a lot of reasons why that may have happened, why they didn't hit the demographer's guess. But I got to think that one of the big ones, one of the things that happened that none of the demographers in 1995 were guessing on was the internet.
No kidding.
I got to think that none of the Mormons saw it coming, that people could actually look up what they were getting themselves into and go, "Oh, that's it? Yeah, I don't think so."
No. That's not my thing.
No. Because
weird
there's information now.
I don't get to drink. They believe in what?
Yeah.
Polygamy in heaven.
Right? There's a lot of stuff that let me tell you something. These Mormon missionaries do not tell you before you get baptized.
Listen, This is how bad it is. There was like, when you would go into like a new, we didn't have wards because it was, there weren't. Anyway, I don't want to get into when you arrive at a new a new congregation, right? As a missionary, there are certain members, especially like new members, who kind of get handed off to like the missionaries to kind of just like pay a lot of attention to and kind of just like keep them in the fold, right? And so I made this really good friend who he would probably been a member 18 months, 2 years maybe. And I remember when he found out about garments. He didn't know.
Which is the Mormon magic underwear that you wear once you've been sort of inducted into
long, right? And had no idea. And I remember having to like kind of try to explain it. And he's like, wait, what? What is it? Just baffled, completely confused. And I mean, that's it. They lure you in without like telling you everything. Right. So you're absolutely right. Like if they can get you in and get you socialized and get you to like have friends.
Look at all these nice people who are happy to see you.
Community that once you get hooked by the community, then they can work on all the other stuff. But it's all about like giving people who have some sort of and this is part of it. It's this some sort of lack, right? Like they tell you that there was a list in one of our little handbooks in order of the sort of perfect candidates to bring into the church. Right. And I mean, like right at the top of the list were people who recently had a loved one die. Yeah. Right? People who had lost their job. People who like, and it was all hardship. It was all things that had some kind of blow against them, right?
Yeah. People who are sad and lonely, people who need the comfort of people around them, who don't have a strong social safety net of any kind. It's like, hey, we got one.
Yeah.
All it costs is 10% of your income, and you're boring now.
Yeah. And so you're absolutely right. So like if you can skip over all of that and just let people know what's waiting for them a couple years down the road.
Right.
And the things that you start sort of finding out and having to kind of like be okay with. Yeah, you're right. The internet, boy, it hurt them bad.
Yeah. And make no mistake, the 16.5 million members that we've been talking about, that is not the number of people who will tell you to your face, if you say, what religion are you? You will not get 16.5 million people saying I'm Mormon. Yeah. That number is wildly inflated because they're counting everybody that's been baptized, and they only don't count you anymore if you specifically tell them, don't count me anymore. And even then, it's a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, our friend Doug, who's hosted this show before, co-hosted this show before, and is also with me on the How to Heretic. He served a mission in Honduras, and he baptized, unlike you, you didn't baptize anybody. He baptized literally hundreds of people. And when I asked him, do you think any of them are still members? He was like, no. These are people who just, if you say, hey, want to join my church? They're like, okay, I'll try it for a minute. And then they find out, like, no drinking, no smoking. And they're like, nope, not this one. And they just go away. But they don't write into the church headquarters and like, hey, please remove me from your record. They don't give a fuck. They just stop going and they move on to the next one.
So funny.
Oh, it's a wildly inflated number, that 16.5 million people. But even at that, it's still no 35 million. Sorry.
Oh, poor Mormons. They thought they were going to be so popular.
Yeah.
They thought
still... I mean, believe me, 16 million, even if their number is, 14 or 13 million, that's no slouch. They're coming in. They're coming in pretty hot. I think for being such weirdos, that is a successful fucking cult there.
Should we compare them to other weirdos? Let me see.
Sure.
Let me see.
What do you got?
Let me see what we have that's coming in around.
What do you have, J-Dubs?
Well, the Seventh-day Adventists, they're weird.
Sure.
20 million.
Are they?
That's what this says. This is...
Wow. The Adventists are doing better than the Mormons. I would not have seen that coming. Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of sleepy weird. You know what I mean? Like Mormons are just abruptly weird.
Yeah, it's just I don't see the Adventists out there recruiting. I don't see their recruitment efforts.
I'm pretty sure they do. Just not on Saturdays.
Right.
Let's see. I don't like how this is organized.
What about the J-Dubs? You got J-Dubs?
Well, I'm gonna have to do like a search.
Okay.
Sorry. Witnesses 8.5 million.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I had to find a section called non-Trinitarian Restorationism in order to get to the Latter-day Saints. Right. A 16.4, which is the entire movement. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, located here in Salt Lake City, is 16.1 million. The Community of Christ is 250,000, and then there's a whole bunch of other
Community of Christ are the cool Mormons.
Those are the cool ones.
If you want like Mormons, but you want them to be a lot cooler.
If you have to Mormon, right?
If you have to Mormon, you want to go with the ones who accept the gays.
That you want to? What you look up?
I don't know, Moonies.
Oh God. Let me see what I can do with Moonies. Do they have like a real name? Is that their nickname? Oh no, the Unification Church.
Yeah,
1 to 2 million.
Still?
Yeah, the Luz del Mundo, which we've talked about before. That's around 1 million.
Yeah.
Unitarian Universalism, the UUs. That's 0.6 million.
Oh man, come on, Unitarians.
They're not bad.
It's just like, how do you keep a church going when you just don't believe anything?
Have you ever heard of the Friends of Man?
Friends of Man?
0.07 million. And then
the Quakers call themselves Friends.
Okay.
What do the Quakers call themselves now?
Yeah, but what's a Christadelphian?
I don't know, but I like it.
Christadelphian. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. That's not what we're talking about today. Maybe next week.
Yeah, I know.
But
now I got to Google Christadelphians.
It's so made up. Anyway,
it's all made up, Frank. All of it. All of it is just somebody made some shit up, and then people believed it, and that's what's crazy.
That's the miracle. It is a miracle. Is that anybody would follow any of these ding dongs? Because you can pick on the Seventh-day Adventists and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons for being weird, but really, is it really that weird, or is it weirder? Right? Yeah. You're just used to the other stuff.
Yep. That's true. It's new weird as opposed. Oh, how many Scientologists? Do you have Scientologists?
Okay, let me pull this back.
That's
up
a good weirdo one. Because let me tell you something. Scientologists are like, they're 100 years behind the Mormons, or 150 years behind the Mormons, but they're coming in fast. They're coming in hot.
They go by anything else? They're not on this page.
Oh.
I don't know why. Let me see if they're over here on this other page. I have a couple different pages pulled up. Scientology. No, nothing.
We're looking stuff up while this is real time stuff here, baby.
We don't do research in advance. Not when we're just riffing like this. You got to. Yeah. Anyway,
we just didn't know we would go to this place. This isn't what we didn't know we'd be.
I had other stuff pulled up. I didn't know this was coming up. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Dan.
Yeah.
That's that.
There you go.
The Mormons.
There are a lot of Mormons out there.
If you run into a Mormon, sometime in the next couple weeks, don't give him a hug, because you can't, because you'll die.
Don't do that. But do tell them about the internet. Let them know that exists.
Well, they have to be feeling a little blue. They just didn't grow like they thought they were going to.
Oh, poor.
That's so sad. I feel bad for them.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, listen, if you would like to comment on any of this, write in to tell us how many Scientologists there are. Please feel free. You can reach us podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click that like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group. We will let you in if you request to join.
Yeah.
And then also, find us on Twitter at TGIAtheist.
Yeah.
I get angry and post things.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, speaking of the Facebook and all the things, thanks so much to Mackenzie for all of her hard work on our Facebook page. And thanks to Amy and Danny for being moderators on the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club and to Gordon Johnston for the use of their music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.